All right, this video here is going to cover actually 3 learning targets total, 5, 6, and number 7. So we're flying through this chapter pretty quickly. Okay, I can determine the whole when given the part in percent. I can determine the part given the whole in percent, or I can determine the percent when I'm given the part in the whole. Now, it's very wordy, but basically, it's just you're either going to be finding the whole amount, the part, or the percent. So in other words, we're talking about part to whole relationships. I'm either going to find the part, I'm going to find the whole, or you're going to be finding the percent. Okay, which is like a part 2. But we'll get to that. So go ahead and flip in your notes to page number 12. Page 12. Okay? So again, there's your learning targets up at the top. Now, I just want to show you this right here. 85% of what number is equal to 68? Now, these to me, I'm with you guys. There's a lot of people that just can do that very quickly in their head. They just know exactly what they're doing, and I kind of struggle with that, like many of you might too. Okay, like how to figure out what that's even saying, I guess is what I mean. Okay, now let's go ahead. I want to skip that top question for a second. I want to come down to here, and I want you guys to put a big old star next to this right here, because this is important. This is what this is all about. Okay. Now I'm going to write it slightly different. Okay, and I want you to write it. This is a proportion right here, right? Okay, which doesn't look like much yet. It doesn't look really like, it doesn't really look like anything yet, but it's going to here in a minute. Okay. Remember, when we're doing percentages, we're always talking about part to whole ratios. I mean, because when you're talking about anything per 100, when you're talking percents, 100% represents the whole. Okay, so everything we do is part to whole. So what I want you to do here is I want to do it like this. I want to draw your percent, and I want to put a P. Actually, let me put that in the middle more. I'm going to write it out. Part to the whole, and then this would be the percentage. Oops, sorry about that. The percent, and then 100 always goes there. Okay. Now, the only thing that's different about mine, the reason I like mine just a little bit more, okay, is this. You can see where A is P percent of B. See that? I think that will confuse you if you read that. I want you just to remember it like this: that P is the part. That's this. That's A. It's the part, and then whole is your. Because like I said, there's only such thing as a part to whole. There's no whole to part. Okay? Remember, this 100 represents a whole too. Okay? And this percent represents, technically, it's a part. Okay? So let's just start there. I'm going to refer to that several times throughout this video. Okay? Suppose we know that 13 students in Mrs. Jones' algebra class earned B's. And that represents 37% of the class. How many students were there in the class? So let's start with our proportion. Okay? Now remember, I always want you to do this. I want you to put part to whole like that. Then I always want to put a percentage sign, and then 100 always goes there. This is the way it's done every time, okay, guys? Every single time we do these problems, you do it just like this. Okay, now let's go up here. Let's figure out what it's giving us. What information is it giving us? Suppose we know that 13 students in Mrs. Jones' class earned B's, and that represents 37% of the class. Okay. How many students? Now, when it says students, isn't it asking for a total number of students? Okay. So let's look at this now. At our two pieces of information. 100 always goes where it is. Okay. Now, in that 13 students right there, did that give us a part or a whole? Hopefully you are all saying a part. 13 students. And then, does it give us a whole amount of students? Does it say that 13 students out of 50 students or something like that? No, it doesn't. Then it gives us a percentage. They said that 13 is actually 37% of the class. Okay? We want to know how many total students. That's what it wants to know. That's why this is blank right here. Okay? So, what do we do here? Well, you cross multiply and divide, just like you did way back when. Okay? So we take 100, we multiply it by 13, then we divide by 37. Okay? It's going to give us, you can't round, you never can round up. Did I do that right? Let me do that one more time. Okay, yes I did. We know that that represents 35 students. 35 total. Okay, 35 total students. So there's your answer. It's all very, very. I want you to do it this way with the process. It's all a process, okay? It's all about part to whole equals percent over 100, and then figuring out what piece of information they gave you. The only thing that's maybe a little bit different here is now since we're doing percent problems, you're always going to know this. Okay, that's always going to be a given. You always have it. This spot always have to have 100 because that's the whole part when you're talking percents. Okay, then you're going to be given two other spots. You're either going to be given the part and the percent, the whole and the percent, or the part and the whole, and then find the percent. That's where it goes back to your learning target. I can determine the whole when given the part and percent. That's the one we just did right there at the bottom. Next time, we might do, I can determine the part. Instead of me saying, okay, instead of this saying there are 13 students that got B's, maybe it says there are 35 total students in a class. 37% of them got B's. How many got B's? Maybe it says that. That would be learning target 6. And then finally, learning target number 7 is the same one we've been doing whenever we've been figuring out percents back on previous pages. Okay? Okay, go ahead and flip to the next page. Okay, now let's start with I want to rewrite this proportion one more time. Same one we've been doing. I want to write the word part. I want to write the word whole. Then I want to write a percent sign. And then 100 always goes there. You must learn this is how I want it done. I'm going to give you a little hint though. Okay, because as I said on the previous page, these can be a little bit tricky. 18 is 30% of what number? Like, that is hard. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of a trick to kind of maybe help you remember. Because the percent's always easy to see. You just look for the percent sign. I mean, if it's given, it's given. If it's not, it's not. Okay, but it's kind of hard to tell what's the part and what's the whole sometimes. Okay, I want everybody to write this. I want you to write the word is after part, and I want you to write the word of after whole. Okay? Remember this, guys. You've got to know that right there that I have highlighted in green. You've got to know it. Okay? So, let's do number 1 here. Or example 2. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make my proportion because you always need a proportion. Must use proportion. You must use them. There is no option. You will use them. No questions asked. You have to use them, okay? Okay, so I'm going to put PW percent 100. Okay, and I say 18 is 30% of what number? These are very hard for students. They're hard for me, kind of. Just to think about these. Like, I can't. I have a hard time, like, looking at that and figuring out exactly what I'm being asked to do. Okay? Which is okay. If you're feeling that way too, that's fine. That's why we've designed like this approach that I've given you here. It's going to help you organize everything, all your thoughts. It's going to help you organize. The first thing you always look for is they say, what is given? 2 pieces of information is given. We got to figure out where those 2 pieces go. Does it go in part? Does it go in whole? Does it go in percent? Where does it go? I go up here and I say, okay, remember these words right here. Is and of. First thing I'm going to identify is I'm going to identify that number right there. 30%. That's easy. That goes right there. So I've eliminated 30%. Now, let's figure out exactly whether 18 is a part or if it is a whole. 18 is 30% of what number? Of what number? Of what number? We are trying to figure out a whole amount. This is what we do not know. We do not know what that is. we know 18 is my part, because it says 18 is, and then of what number. So now we can cross multiply and divide from here. So it's 100 times 18 divided by 30. And there's 60. The answer is 60. Okay? 18 is 30% of what number? Okay? Makes sense, I think, doesn't it? 18 is 30% of another number. So that means 18 is just a portion of a much larger number, which in this case is 60. Go ahead and pause and you guys try example 3 here. Okay? So we should always start here. And yes, I want this done every time. Part to whole equals percent over 100. Okay. 17 is 66% of what number? Now this one's the same as the one we just did. I go ahead and fill in 66 because that's the easy one to see. And then I just figure out, okay, is 17 a part or a whole? Well, if 17 is just 66% of a whole amount, then that whole is what we're looking for here. 17 is going to go right here. Okay? Hopefully you did it this way. 100 times 17 divided by 66 gives me 25.75 if you want to put that. You don't have to. Okay, let me try that one more time just to make sure I did it right. 25.75 repeating. So that's fine. There. Okay? Which makes sense because 17 is 66% of a number. So I know that it's going to be that 17 is just a portion, just over half of another number. Okay? Let's go on to the next one. Whoops, sorry. A group of students is, let's get our grammar figured out here. A group of students are trying out for the soccer team. Of those students, 22 are 7th graders. If 55% of the students trying out are 7th graders, how many students are trying out in all? So let's just make our proportion here, and then we're going to go back, because that's a lot of words and got a lot of confusing stuff about that, I think. And I'm sure a lot of you are thinking the same thing. Maybe not, but I assume you probably are. So let's go back and let's try to figure out exactly what this is giving us. Maybe we need to reread it. A group of students are trying out for the soccer team. So some group of students. We don't know how many students yet. We know that of those students, 22 of them are 7th graders. Okay? If 55% of the students that are trying out are 7th graders, how many students are trying out in all? So that sounds to me like we're looking for a whole amount. We're trying to figure out how many total students tried out. Right? So now let's go in and figure out what information was given. They gave us this. 55% were 7th graders. 55% was 22 of them. So 22 goes there. Okay? 100 times 22 divided by 55 equals 40. That means that 40 total students tried out. Okay? This one is just like the ones we did up in examples 2 and 3, but I'll do it real quick again. Part to whole, percent over 100. Okay? 15 is going to go there. Obviously, that's the easy one. And then it says of what number. So that's what I'm looking for, the whole amount. So 435 goes there. 100 times 435 divided by 15 equals 2,900. And by the way, just to clear up anything, I hope all of you know that all I'm doing is I'm cross-multiplying and then I'm dividing. Okay? Just like we learned in chapter 5. Okay? Let's do this next one here. As a part of a class project, Matt collected $126 in donations for a local hospice. That amount was 7% of the total amount collected by the class. How much money did the class collect in all? Okay, so let's get our labels on here. Part to whole, percent over 100. Okay, now it says that Matt collected $126 in donations, and that was 7% of the total amount. So there, that's easy. That's always the easy one to figure out. 7% goes there. Now, is Matt's collection, his $126, would that be representing a part of the amount collected, or would that be representing the whole? It's going to be the part, right? Okay? And the reason I know that is because I know that if that was the whole, wouldn't it say up here, instead of saying Matt collected, wouldn't it say the entire class collected $126? Also, I know that his amount that he collected was 7% of the total amount. So I know this has to be the part, because we collected way more than $126. So let's do it here. 126 times 100 divided by 7. There you go. $1,800. Okay? Once again, guys, I'm stressing this. This right here is how much Matt collected. This right here is the percent that Matt collected. This right here is the amount that the total amount collected. This right here is the percent, the total percent collected. 100. Okay? I'd like you guys to try example 7 on your own, please. Okay? Here we go. We always start right here, guys. When you're working on this in class tomorrow, every single time I better see this. I haven't even read it yet. I haven't even read it. I start here. There are 180 students going on a class field trip. Of those students, 40% of them are boys. How many students on the field trip are boys? So I know that 40% of them are boys. And if you want to put a little label here and just put B, just boys, just to help you remember that we're talking about boys on top. Boys better stay on the top. Okay, so what's given? Did they give us a part? Did they say, okay, there are 20 boys going? No, they gave us the whole amount of people going on the field trip. So that whole is going to go there, 180. We are trying to figure out how many of them are boys. Okay, so get out my calculator again. 180 times 40 divided by 100 gives me 72. 72 of them were boys. Okay, it's all about identifying the part and the whole. What's the part and what's the whole? It really goes right back to chapter 4 and 5. Okay, a pet store has 52 freshwater fish. Freshwater fish. It's hard to say. Of all the fish in the store, 80% of them are freshwater. How many fish does the store have in all? So here we go. I got my part, I got my whole, I got my percent on there, I got my 100. Okay, it's saying there are 52 of the freshwater fish. And then it gives me a percentage, which is easy. Let's go ahead and get that on there. Now it's, once again, all about identifying, is this representing a part or a whole? Or you could ask it the other way and say, is it asking me for a part or is it asking me for a whole? And in this case, we could look at it both ways. If you look at the question, how many fish does the store have in all? We're looking for the whole amount. We aren't just wondering how many freshwater or whatever. We know there are 52 freshwater fish in there. Notice that goes along with 80 because 80% are freshwater. So we're looking for the whole in this particular problem. 52 times 100 is 5,200 divided by 80 equals 65. So that means there are 65 total fish in the pet store. Okay, so if you think about it, 80% are fresh water fish. That means that 20% must be non-FF, freshwater, right? I hope you're seeing how this is working. Part, whole. Go ahead and go to the next page. Okay, here we go. What is 100% of 35? We set up our proportion here. We got our part, our whole, our percent, and then 100. Okay, 100% is given, and it says what is 100% of 35? Notice that says of 35. Remember, the whole, the words we remembered, is over of. Is represents the part, of usually represents the whole. 35 goes there. So we do 35 times 100 divided by 100. Hopefully you didn't really need to do the proportion on this one. What is 100% of 35? Well, if I had 100% of $35, doesn't that mean I have $35? Okay, same goes here. I know that 560 is going to go here because that's of 560. 38% goes there. 100 there. Okay, get out my calculator. 560 times 38 divided by 100, 212.8. Okay, pretty easy there. Let's skip number 12 just to save a little bit of time. Last year, a state university received 3,560 applications from boys. Okay, before I read it, I probably should start here, right? We should always start here. Okay. Last year, the university received 3,560 applications from boys. Of those applications, 35% were from boys who lived in other states. How many applications did the university receive from boys who lived in other states? So I know that 35% is going to go there. Now I got to determine, is that 3,560? Is that a part or is that a whole? Let's reread it. Let's try to figure it out. This is difficult. Last year, a state university received 3,560 applications from boys. Of those applications, 35% were just from boys that live in other states. How many applications did the university receive from boys that lived in other states? So what it's saying is, it's saying 35% were from other states. It wants to know exactly how many. So in that case, we're trying to figure out the part here. And the whole would be 3,560. Okay. So 3,560 times 35 divided by 100 is 1,246. That's how many boys from other states there were. Okay. These are easy. I'd like you to pause and do these 4 real quick, please. Okay, here we go. I know that what percent, these are the ones I was telling you probably the easiest. Because this is when you're asking for the percentage. So we are looking for this. So it's all about identifying the part and the whole. What percent of 70 is 21? Remember, part would be is, whole of, just a little trick to help you remember. What percent of 70 is 21? Okay, we do that. It's going to be 2,100 divided by 70 equals 30%. Okay? You must do proportions here. If you did not use proportions, it's going to be wrong. You're looking for the percentage of 48 is 12. Okay, put your 100 on there. This answer is going to be 25%. Okay? What percent of 56 is 42? %. And finally, of 105 is 63. We're looking for the percentage. It's pretty easy there, I think. I think you guys get this. 6,300 divided by 105, 60%. Okay? So, very easy there, but you must use proportions. Let's just actually stop there, and we'll get back at it tomorrow. See ya.